John, let's get into it, right? Gaza. So the news was all day long this very bleak assessment of what was about to happen. Netanyahu's war cabinet voted yesterday, as expected, to authorize the IDF to go in and occupy all of Gaza, including Gaza City, which is sort of the last redoubt of where civilians can still live, sort of, in the rubble. Mm-hmm. The question was, what's going to happen to the hostages and the Gazans when this happens? And basically the assessment was the hostages are all going to be killed and a lot more Gazans are going to die unnecessarily, and the genocide is going to accelerate. This whole thing really appalled the international community. And now you've seen a huge reaction. Germany announced that it was going to stop transfer of weapons to Israel. Germany is, of course, a very tight ally. Mostly due to the guilt from World War II and the Holocaust, kind of understandably, but it's also kind of stupid in some ways. But that's, we can leave that for another time, maybe. But anyway, John, you informed me just as we were about to go on the air that there's been some late-breaking developments here.
Yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu announced just in the last 20 minutes or so that there has been such an international outcry and there has been such strong international pressure on the Israelis for taking this stupid decision to occupy Gaza City that they have just canceled the plan. They're not going to invade and occupy Gaza City. Now, that doesn't really change anything. Like you said, Ted, people are just living in the rubble, literally living in rubble, probably with many thousands of dead bodies under there that haven't yet been counted. But this is really the first time that the Israelis have responded to large-scale international pressure since this thing started. It's the first time. So I hope that that these countries, and they're mostly Western countries because everybody else already supports the Palestinians, but the Western countries, I hope, will keep this up because it might be the only thing to save some Palestinian lives.
So yeah, finally the Israelis are feeling the heat. They seemed impervious.
Yeah, very much so.
So I guess now the question is, what next? I mean, okay, so
can't trust them.
No, well, that's clearly true. I guess the question now is, though, okay, so if the Israelis aren't going to do that, I mean, the status quo isn't acceptable really for anyone, right? It's certainly not acceptable for the Palestinians who live there. And it's not really, from the standpoint of the Israelis, acceptable either. They don't want to leave Hamas in charge. They don't want to, understandably, I think.
Yeah.
The Palestinian Authority isn't viable for a variety of reasons. Israelis won't accept them, but that's fine. The Palestinians won't accept them either. So it's like now we're back at square one, right? Does this mean Germany's going to resume arms shipments, by the way?
I would suspect, yes, that they would resume arms shipments. You remember the Germans, more than any other Western country, have this policy fueled by guilt, by national guilt over the Holocaust. And now they're bending over backwards and practically fighting with the Greeks to see which country can be the most pro-Israel. Greece is starting to see some upheaval, large-scale demonstrations against the government for its support for Israel. We've already seen pictures and video of Israeli cruise ships docking, for example, at my ancestral island of Rhodes, and Israeli tourists not being able to get off the boats because so many Greek protesters have turned out to tell them to get the hell off our island, that we didn't want Israeli tourists because of the way they treat Palestinians. It's getting to the point where the government, the Mitsotakis government, is going to have to decide if they're going to be on the side of human rights or are they going to be on the side of, splitting the oil wealth in the Eastern Mediterranean with the Israelis. And so far, they're choosing the money. So we'll see.
Right.
It's getting ugly.
But not for much longer. So Marcel has a question. What do we think? What was the line that got crossed? Was it the effect of all the string of countries recognizing Palestine? Well, you can't possibly ignore that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of it.
The French announcement triggered a whole string of the UK, Canada, so on. Now the Germany arms transfer threat. There's been some loud outcry inside the Israeli political scene where people, generals, former IDF guys, former Shin Bet guys have all said this is a disaster. We're being cut off. Our country is going to become an international pariah. It is. One guy said it's going to become a leper country. And basically, they're finally noticing, although the protests, John, that have taken place in Tel Aviv over the last 24 to 48 hours, they're still not about the Gazans. It's still not about being a country that commits genocide. It's still about the safety of the hostages. Yeah. I mean, I understand. I'm not saying they shouldn't care about the hostages or that it was okay to take them. It wasn't. But that said, it's all they care about to the exclusion of all else, even on the left.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. There's going to have to be a major change here. One of the things too, you and I were discussing this very briefly just before the show started. It's the Russian position on Ukraine. It looks like there may be something of a breakthrough. Well, there's kind of a side story to that too. The Iranian government said today how sorely disappointed the Iranians have been over the fact that the Russians have been all talk when it comes to support for Iran. In the 12-day Iran-Israel war, the Russians did nothing but say nice words. That was pretty much it. And so, we talk about the Western countries lining up, whether it's behind the Israelis or the Palestinians, when the Palestinians are supposed to be feeling this really great Russian support, Russian, Chinese, Indian, etc. And they're not. The Russians are preoccupied with Russian stuff. And with Ukraine, they're not really doing anything anywhere else.
Well, Iran, let me introduce you to former President Assad. If you want to know what it's like for Russia to sort of decide to not be so interested in you in any way.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean, is that legitimate? I mean, is Russia just legitimately overextended and it's like guys are going to have to understand?
I think so.
Do they just not care? Are they just being assholes, or is it a little bit of both?
I think that they're overextended. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you the reason why I come to that conclusion is that Assad gets on the plane and flies to Moscow. And then the Russians release a statement meant for Jelani saying, can we please keep our bases?
Oops.
Yeah. And then Jelani's like, no, get the hell out. And that was it. They're out. So they so miscalculated because they're preoccupied with Ukraine, clearly. I want to add too, as an aside, I had a friend over the last couple of days, two friends over. One of them is a former special forces guy. And even though he's almost 60 years old, he is built like The Rock, right?
Right.
And he has friends who are fighting. Do you remember that Ukrainian volunteer force where Malcolm Nance and a bunch of other Americans signed up to go fight? So apparently it's still a thing. And he's got some friends there that are fighting, and they sent him a couple of pictures of North Koreans that they had killed. And you should see the stuff that these North Koreans have in their pockets. It's all propaganda. Like, they all have the same exact things, saying that they're fighting for the glory of the dear leader, and they're going to make North Korea proud. It has nothing to do with Russia. The issue, though, is that the average Russian is tired of fighting this war, and there just aren't enough Russians to keep this constant supply of people going to the front. Now, the Ukrainians, of course, are having the same exact problem.
Right. Thus the press gangs.
Yes. Thus the press gangs. And so I can't help but to think that, there aren't enough North Koreans in the pipeline. There certainly aren't enough Russians in the pipeline. The Ukrainians are tired. I think this may be the beginning of the end of the war.
Well, I've been dying to talk to you about this, John, since I read it. It just broke right before we went on the air.
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal reported, and they've had consistently reliable reporting on this matter, that there's this summit that's in some reports was supposed to already have occurred either yesterday or today. We don't know when it's going to happen. It might be, it might be starting right now, even as we speak. But anyway, it's a matter of hours or days, right? It's not weeks. Right. Trump's going to meet Putin in person. I've always thought that was going to be absolutely essential for anything to get done. And Trump, apparently Putin has conveyed to Trump, not in person yet,
right?
That he's down to one demand. I just want Eastern Ukraine. In other words, no more, not even a requirement for denazification or that you can't join NATO. That's apparently no longer something. And I thought this entire war was mostly about Ukraine not joining NATO, so that you would have basically a hair trigger. You have a couple of drunken border guards on the Russian-Ukrainian border, mix it up one night, and the next thing you know, it's World War III. Yeah. But that's what Putin was worried about. I would be if I were him. But he may be willing to let that go. I mean, and basically he just wants the status quo to, basically let me have the Donbass and Crimea, which, let's face it, there's no getting them back anyway.
No.
And I walk away. I take my ethnic Russians with me. If you hate Russia, you're going to view this as basically it's a Sudetenland sellout. And basically that's the deal. I mean, first of all, do you believe that report? And if so, do you think it's enough to get a peace deal across the finish line? And can the Ukrainians be rolled? So 3 questions.
I maybe I'm overly optimistic, but I think that this is the beginning of the end of the war. I really do. The Ukrainians already don't trust the Trump administration. They see that the Democrats are in disarray, just like we see it, and they're probably not sanguine that significant aid is going to pick up again. Sure, they've got the Poles and the Germans and the Brits, but that can't last forever. And other European countries are already saying enough is enough. And so, there's among Ukrainians too, there's no really deep love of Crimea. Crimea's only been a part of Ukraine since 1953. It was a gift from Khrushchev, who was Ukrainian,
right,
to Ukrainian SSR.
Right.
And so I think that deep down, they don't really care so much.
It's symbolic.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
It's really in my view, it was never should have been part of Ukraine. And, in 1991, probably Crimea should have been returned to Russia at the time of the split, but that's not how it went. And the Donbass is a little more complicated.
Yeah.
But it's mostly ethnic Russians who I think mostly want to be in Russia.
It's funny. All the Ukrainians that I know, all the Ukrainians who are friends of mine, including my best friend's wife, are ethnic Russians. And they hate the fact that there's been fighting. They hate the fact that there's been death and destruction, but they want to be Russian. They speak Russian at home. They're members of the Russian Orthodox Church. They want to be Russian.
And when Russia offered these people the right to apply for Russian passports, they took them up on it in droves. They didn't have to. No one's holding a gun to their head, say, come down to the passport office.
That's right.
They wanted to be, and let's not forget that for the last, for the 8 years prior to the war, the Russian independence forces, represented by the so-called PPRs, right, the People's Republics of Donetsk and Luhansk, they wanted to. They've been fighting and getting bombed and shelled by the Ukrainians. I mean, so it was a separatist movement to begin with. I mean, this is kind of like, it's almost like the Kurds, right? In Turkey, sort of.
I think it is. I think it is like the Kurds in Turkey. There was something else too. I just saw from Marble 455. This is the $64,000 question right here. Does the U.S. lift sanctions if Putin makes a deal with Trump?
That is the question.
That's the question. That's what it all comes down to. Yeah.
And I guess, I'd have to think that would be an important part of the deal for Putin.
It would have to be. It would have to be, because we've made it just difficult enough for Russia to sell gas, to the point where we're now threatening the Indian government with 50% tariffs if they don't stop buying Russian gas. We're going to end up having sanctions or tariffs on practically every country on the world unless we can get this thing settled. Plus, John gets his TV show back if the sanctions are lifted.
Right. True.
And I need the money very badly.
Yes, you do. So do I. But I don't know. I don't think the radio's ever coming back, though.
No, I don't think so either.
Unfortunately.
Yes, that's right.
It never should have gone away. So I guess, I agree with you. I think that, I think this is the beginning of the end. It's a breakthrough. I think, what's going to really, if Trump really wants to get across the line and maybe be a serious contender for the Peace Prize, not that they will ever give it to him, he's going to need to do something he doesn't like to do. He's going to have to spend overnight meeting with Putin, probably like 4 or 5 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And just do nothing else.
Where do you think
focus and listen to Putin talk about, medieval Russian history for hours on end.
Yep.
And then they can get there. I think this is about Putin needs to feel like this guy, he showed up, he's going to listen, he's going to give me what I want, he's going to be respectful, he's going to recognize Russia as a great power, and then we're good.
Yeah. Where do you think a meeting like that would take place? It would have to be in Asia somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I could see maybe the Japanese hosting something like that, or Hong Kong, or Singapore.
Yes,
something like that. Right?
Just like with talks with the North Koreans, the first was in Singapore.
Yeah, because they, in Qatar has been mentioned here, but doesn't seem like, I don't know. I think that's a look that Trump doesn't want.
Yeah, I think that's right. Especially when he's going to get his new 747 soon.
He could do Paris.
Yeah. Yeah. Hungary.
True. He could totally do Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
It's a friendly place for both of them.
It is. It is.
That would be a sweet spot. Off to Budapest.
Candace Strike, thank you so much. Thank you for that generosity.
Oh my God, yeah. Thank you indeed.
Thank you. I didn't want to let it go. And Marble 455 has another good question. Didn't they fire the Russian embassy DC chef? I'm surprised anybody outside the diplomatic community knows about that. That was actually a very big deal. The Russian embassy brought their own chef from Russia. Every year in the diplomatic community, there's a cook-off, and all the embassy chefs compete. This guy won every single year. And then as soon as the war broke out, the State Department announced that they would not renew his visa. I was invited to lunch at the Russian ambassador's residence with a bunch of other people. It was like 12 of us, Peter Kuznick and a bunch of people. And the chef really was that good as they built him up to be.
Really?
And then he was gone like 4 days later, back to Russia. The Russian ambassador finished his tour, I'm going to say in September. He's gone and has never been replaced. So we have a lot of rebuilding to do in terms of our relationship with the Russians. Yeah.
I don't know what this question is.
Yeah, Turkey is.
What do you mean? Do you think they want to divide and conquer Russia? Who's they? If you can just let us know.
Oh, which chef? Oh, it was the Russian. The Russian, and he would beat the pants off the French year after year after year. And what was funny, the ambassador told us that most of what he made was French. It wasn't even Russian food.
Oh, so the clarification from Bosco is the West. Well, of course, they've always wanted to.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the Ukraine war was part of that. I mean, God, it's been an endless series of attacks ever since the Bolshevik Revolution.
Oh my God,
never stopped. The Cold War never ended. They just never stopped. The Russians thought that the Cold War was over, but no one told the U.S.
Ted, 4 minutes ago, a story broke. That President Trump has met with the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia this afternoon, and they will sign a joint peace declaration to end 4 decades of conflict.
So this is Nagorno-Karabakh.
It's Nagorno-Karabakh. And for the first time, peace is at hand since the conflict started in 1988. And they're both lauding the peacemaking acumen of Donald J. Trump. How do you like that?
Well, that's great. Now, the way I remember that working out, though, isn't that kind of like, all right, so correct. So maybe we need to summarize what happened here. So at the end of in 1991, when the Soviet Union broke apart, a lot of the borders didn't make a lot of sense. But basically, the borders of the 15 autonomous republics all became 15 independent nations, such as they were, and there ended up with what they called frozen conflict zones all over the former USSR.
All over the place.
Like the Transnistria. There's all sorts of weird border conflicts that you hear about, like in the Fergana Valley and so on, in between Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Anyway, one of them was this Nagorno-Karabakh. This is in Azerbaijan, right?
Right.
But they're ethnic
Armenians. It's a little island of Armenia inside Azerbaijan.
So recently, but correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't hallucinate this, right? Like a few years ago, basically they were
fought.
ethnically cleansed.
Yes.
So the Azeris went in,
kicked the Armenians' asses,
and kicked them out, and just said, "Get the fuck out!" And they sent them to Armenia proper, right? And the Armenians took them in, although they're not like really the same kind of Armenians,
right?
Anymore.
And they have a funny accent.
Yeah, but anyway, so now Azerbaijan. So basically, the Armenians lost.
Yeah.
They lost their people. They lost their ethnic brothers. And so basically, I guess, isn't this pretty much just accepting the facts on the ground, much like Russia and Ukraine?
Well, some of our listeners are making points here that I think are very good. EOK, not sure this is good for Armenians. Exactly. I'm of exactly the same mind, because the Armenians are being forced to operate from a position of weakness. They've already been beaten. They've already been ethnically cleansed. And so I'm not sure what the Armenians are getting out of this. But then, who said it?
Maybe money.
Oh, here it is. The president of Armenia said Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Houdini said it.
Really?
I mean, this is just, I can't wrap my brain around this. It's like every day, whether it's Congo, Rwanda, it's Cambodia, Thailand, it's Armenia, Azerbaijan. It's like, what? I mean, could this actually happen?
Yeah, I know. It's like a fever dream.
Like a fever dream. Yes.
It's very strange because Donald Trump is both an ignorant fascist blowhard and a brilliant peacekeeping genius at the same time.
Oh, Trump hinted that there might be possible Somaliland peace treaty. I went to Somaliland in 2011. There's literally nothing there. It's just sand and a couple of villages.
So this is near Eritrea, right? This is northeastern.
In Ethiopia, near Ethiopia. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It borders Djibouti. Mm-hmm. And they just want to be an independent country. They're happy to ally themselves with the United States. They just don't want to be a part of Somalia because Somalia is it's a pirate country. And Obama won his Nobel Peace Prize just because his name wasn't George W. Bush. That's all he had to do. That was it.
Literally, there's no peacemaking actually that occurred. Quite to the contrary, right? He expanded. Yeah. He sent more troops to Iraq and Afghanistan. Kind of taking a page from the Kissinger playbook, like to try to, we'll make peace after we accelerate the war.
QQTF at the bottom here has a good question. It's about the corridor to not just, I can never say it, not just Javan. So do they get the corridor? I mean, that's really what they want.
The Armenians.
Yeah. We don't know anything about this peace deal yet.
This deal there's no details available.
Yeah, we don't know, but that's really what they need. They need that corridor. Interestingly enough, too, the Iranians hate the Azeris. all my Iranian friends, when they talk about Azerbaijan, they'll refer to it as the other Azerbaijan because there's an Iranian state.
Azeris are a huge ethnic minority in Iran. Yeah.
Huge. And even in Azerbaijan, one of the official languages is Farsi. Djibouti. I was in I'll say some funny thing that USC XXX A-Rod 21. Haha, Djibouti. I was in the Holiday Inn Express in Salt Lake City on Saturday. And I walk in the lobby to check in, and there's this big, huge guy there. And he points at me and he says, "Hey, YouTube CIA guy." And I said, right. Nice to meet you. And I put out my hand and I shook his hand. And he said he watches my videos when he's laying in bed at night, which is funny because I watch other people's videos while I'm laying in bed at night. I've never actually seen one of my videos on
No, I never read my own books. I never
TikTok. No, I don't either.
Never.
And he ran back up to his room. He says, "Stay right here." He runs back up to his room. He comes back down with a challenge coin. And it turns out he's the American Embassy's regional security officer in Djibouti.
Oh.
And so we started talking about Djibouti, and he said, Djibouti is really, really underestimated. It's a little teeny tiny country. It has only one city called Djibouti, and a couple of villages here and there. It's very poor, but we're there militarily. The Chinese are there militarily, and the French Foreign Legion still has a presence there. It's 16 miles across the water from Yemen. So everybody's interested, and it's connected to Somalia on the south to help us fight the pirates. This is a very important place.
By the way, speaking of, for people who aren't aware, I think most of our viewers are, Azerbaijan, is why Hitler invaded the Soviet Union, right? People are always like, well, why did Hitler do something stupid like that? Right? It was to get the oil fields in Baku.
That's exactly right.
He was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? I have this Allied oil embargo. Occupied Europe's not getting any oil. I've got to get that Soviet oil." And then he got started a month late.
And that's what did him in.
That's what did him in.
Yes, the weather turned.
Yeah, and also the late start. Right, there was some kind of coup in the Balkans. Right, like someone overthrew his Nazi puppet. I think was it in Serbia or Croatia?
No, it was in Hungary. It was Heydrich.
Central Europe, yeah.
Yeah. Or Czechoslovakia. It was in Czechoslovakia.
Or
in
Romania,
Prague.
maybe. But it was one of those, and he was like, "Oh, I can't let that pass. I have to send my army there." And then by the time he got started, so Azerbaijan's really it was a linchpin to it, a hugely important, historical event.
Houdini makes a point too. He had to go save Mussolini. This is something that the Greeks are so proud of. In October 1940, Mussolini ordered his ambassador to go see the Prime Minister of Greece at midnight, and he gave Prime Minister Metaxas an ultimatum to just surrender to the Italians and that Italy would occupy Greece. And he said, "Ohi," which means no. So now there's this national holiday called Ohi Day. It's celebrated both in Greece and in the United States among Greek Americans. It's a very, very important holiday. So the Italians attacked Greece the very next day. And the Greeks not only beat the Italians back, but the Greeks ended up occupying the southern third of Albania. And so Hitler had to send troops to Greece to bail out the Italians, and it set back the invasion of the Soviet Union to the point where later Churchill said, "Henceforth, we will not say that the Greeks fought like heroes. We will say that heroes fought like Greeks."
Ooh.
And they still quote it.
High praise.
Yeah. They still quote it, but the Greeks are very proud that their steadfastness against the Italians and then against the Germans delayed the invasion of the Soviet Union and helped to win the war in the end.
That's seriously incredibly important. All right, so let's talk about so what's going to come out of this Russia-Ukraine thing. Obviously,
I don't know, man. I'm always accused of being overly optimistic, and it's because I've got like a financial stake in this peace deal.
Yeah, that's why I'm not optimistic, because I have a financial stake in this peace deal, not as big as yours, but yeah.
I want my show back. So I want my health insurance back. This Obamacare. I wish I never heard of Obamacare. Oh my God. Anyway,
it's evil. By the way, next week, I didn't tell you yet, John, we've got a guest coming in to talk about sanctions.
Great.
An expert about the effect on sanctions. It's nothing that you'd be surprised by, but the details are really interesting.
Excellent.
I think we're going to do that Thursday.
I have a lot of questions about sanctions.
Yeah, I know we both care about the topic a lot. I think sanctions are ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can't work. They just sort of almost never do. I guess is my answer to this. Let's talk about the census. So
yeah.
So
this thing's spreading, man.
Under the U.S. Constitution, the Census Bureau counts the number of people in the United States every 10 years. Keyword is the people in the United States. Now, Donald Trump he signed an executive order. By the way, John, I don't know. I think we're each going to get our own personal executive orders from Trump every day from now on, telling us like what to wear, like how we should do our hair, all that stuff. And anyway, so he's really got, he's very granular, this guy. He's like Turkmenbashi. Turkmenbashi would sign, Turkmenbashi, the dictator, Sapir Murat Niyazov of Turkmenistan, was such a personalized dictator that he literally personally considered every college application in Turkmenistan.
Saying that.
All of them.
Absolutely nuts.
And he was like, oh, people should stop smoking. It's not good for you. His doctor made him stop smoking. So he's like, okay, smoking is banned. That's
just like that. What was the deal, Ted, with why did every car have to be white?
That's a good question. Although, frankly, Turkmenistan might be the hottest country in the world. So white is best.
That makes sense.
Hot place.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So he looked like a sort of like a business dude, really, like a cheap business dude wearing a cheap suit. Anyway, so acting like Trumpmanbashi wants all immigrants out of the census, right? The practical effect of this is, of course, it's another GOP attack on the blue states, right? Because they think that a disproportionately high number of illegal immigrants live on the coasts. I'm not sure that's really true.
Right.
But, John, isn't the purpose of a census going back to Roman times? It's never been about citizenship status.
No.
It's always been about trying
the number of people.
And how many people live here? What kind of people are they? Without this information, it seems to me like it would be just like not having reliable economic statistics. It would be hard for demographers inside the government, inside of business, to make intelligent decisions. About any number of things. They're still here, whether you count it or not.
Right.
And they have an economic effect. They have an effect on crime and a million other things.
Yes.
You're just not going to count them. It doesn't seem like a good idea.
No, it doesn't seem like a good idea. How would an urban planner, for example, plan public transportation routes if none of these people exist? Right?
Yeah,
you just pretend they don't exist.
It's about reality. Yeah. John, I used to work for a traffic engineering department when I was a young man. And I remember we would time how fast cars went on the roads. And the ideal is that when you drive down the road, the light turns green when you get there. And it just as you arrive, right? That's perfect. It doesn't, of course, always work. But anyway, that's what you're striving for as an engineer. And of course, obviously, you have streets going the other way that you also want that to happen with. And then you also want to give enough time for pedestrians to cross. You measure how long it takes a person to cross the street. You want to make sure that they have enough time in the crosswalk and so on, right? So those are all the factors that go into it. But I was fascinated when I got the job that we were measuring the actual speed of the cars, not the speed limit. And I said, well, the speed limit's 40. shouldn't the light only turn green for the people who are going 40? Shouldn't the speeders have to hit the brakes? And they said, no. My boss said, we deal with the reality. So the reality in my town was that people typically went 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. And we want them to hit that light on time. We don't want people slamming on the brakes. That causes accidents, right? So that's not good. So in fact, we see, red light cameras cause a lot of accidents. People slam on the brakes and get rear-ended.
Oh yeah.
Happens all the time. So anyway, the point is, this is about reality. The census is about knowing the truth. It's not about knowing some theoretical, idealized version of the truth. And you can't even, it seems like the compromise solution was, well, count them all, but have a separate category for the illegal migrants. But then the problem is, if you do that, the illegal migrants aren't going to cooperate with the census, and because they're for fear of deportation, which certainly is a valid fear nowadays.
Yeah. Like today, some poor guy went to NIH for some terrible disease he has. He made an appointment. They wanted to see him at NIH. And as soon as he arrived, ICE was on him and they grabbed him and took him to some detention center.
Jesus Christ.
So he's sick, like sick enough to need to go to a hospital. And now he's in a detention center.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Where he's going to be in real trouble.
Yeah, he's going to be in real trouble. We've got a couple of questions too. Robbie has passed a couple on to me. Why don't I move to Greece? I think about that every single day. And there's an app I have on my phone called Spitogatos. It means house cat. It's the Greek version of realtor.com every single day. And then my son is constantly emailing me, Dad, look at this condo. Dad, look at this house. Look at the view. Oh my God, it's right on the water. Yeah, but all my kids are here. Everybody who's important to me is here. The healthcare would be free. That's the only reason I think about it every day. The healthcare would be free. So,
by the way, what Big Boss is saying here is correct. It is, the census data is used.
Yes.
Representation in the House is proportional of the population of each state. So this would deprive Democrats, presumably, of some seats. It's an apportionment grab. John, I think about that. Of moving to France, I look at French real estate all the time. I mean, as a New Yorker, it's so cheap.
Yeah, it's like they're giving it away
for 300 or even 300,000 euros or less. You can have a beautiful 1820 farmhouse made of stone in a picturesque village. I mean,
man, I'll tell you, Ted, even in Athens, which is a major city, the 6-7 million people almost, for 550,000 euros, you can get a top floor, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo where you can practically reach out and touch the Parthenon. Seriously. 550, 580 maybe. And the prices have doubled in the past 3 years because Russians, Chinese, and Israelis are buying up all the real estate.
Europe is better. I mean, I was looking into the French medical system, like what would happen if I were to move there. And it's like it's 8 euros to see the doctor, whether you go in for a checkup, whatever, or an operation. It's 8 euros every time.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, that's the shitty version for people like me who didn't pay into the system.
Right.
So
yeah. How are the prices in Marseille?
Oh, well, Marseille, I didn't check. Oh. I do like southern France.
I'm not a Marseille fan, though.
I love Marseillais. I like the people. They're wild and crazy. Like, you know what it is? Marseille is the New Jersey of France. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. It's like they're like people who are they're scumbags, and they kind of like they own it. Like, nice sofa. Yeah, it fell off a truck. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's how they are, and it's great. They're kind of like they're awesome people. But Marseille, the city, it's kind of like like there was that old Huey Lewis song, "Sometimes Bad is Bad." Edmonds did a great cover of it, and it's like. That's what it's like. It's like, you're like, oh, you see the blinking like La Pigalle type cafe lights and, the skanky X-rated stores. And you're like, oh, that's really charming. And it is, unless you actually have to live there. But, I would much rather be up in Aix-en-Provence.
Right.
Saint-Rémy de Provence. Like, with the flower boxes all over the place and everything's quaint and maybe. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a
no,
wuss.
I'm with you.
I might have liked Marseille when I was 25, but I'm too old.
I'm with you. Somebody just asked a question. Any advice on learning Arabic? Force and Sebastian. Yes, I will give you advice. Don't let it intimidate you. And here's what I mean by that. When I was studying Arabic in the CIA language school, my classroom, there were just 3 of us in the classroom. My classroom was next to the Spanish classroom, and there were 6 of them. And the last day that we were in class before Christmas break, one of the women from Spanish class came in and she shouted 3, 3, 3 like that, meaning on a scale of 0 to 5, 3 being conversationally fluent. She had scored 3 in reading, 3 in writing, and 3 in speaking. And I said, oh my God, we haven't finished learning the alphabet yet. So we started the last week of August. Here it is, the 3rd week of December, and we had not finished learning the alphabet. But then in April, so started in August, now I'm in April, I had my first dream in Arabic, and it wasn't gibberish. It was real Arabic. I'll never forget it. I happened to go to New York to see my best friend from college, and we got in a cab. The days before Uber. Fusha is what I studied that first year, and then Khaliji dialect, the Gulf dialect.
What is
Fusha has high standard Arabic. It's like almost like Shakespearean English.
Like what the Jordanians speak, or
no? It's what the Yemenis speak. They speak the purest form of Arabic.
Because Arabic might be the language with the biggest geographical and cultural range of any
language in the world. From one end of the Arabic speaking world to the other, they can't understand a single word the other guy's saying.
But the thing is,
the writing's all the same. And Fusha everybody understands because that's what you learn in school. They also understand, most people understand Egyptian and Syrian dialects because all of the movies are made in Damascus and all the soap operas are made in Cairo. So they understand that. But you think my Arabic sounds Egyptian? One of my professors,
Egyptian.
One of my teachers was Egyptian. The other 2 were Lebanese. But that's a compliment. Thank you. I appreciate that. I never have trouble getting around Egypt when I go there. Everybody understands my Arabic, although they have a funky accent in Egypt. Anyway, don't get discouraged. If you start learning, just accept the fact that it's going to take a long time. It's a
writing is super intimidating
and you know what? It's not. Once you learn the letters. Arabic is very mathematical in its construct. So once you train your brain, for example, the first word of every sentence is the verb. So you say, went Ted to the store, or visited Ted, Montana. Once you get used to that, it just all comes naturally.
That's what Latin was like.
Yeah.
Latin's very, although the word order, it doesn't matter at all in Latin.
And all the best Arabic singers are indeed Egyptian. Kulthum being probably the greatest.
Traditional Egyptian singing is amazing, and pop.
Amazing.
Pop is great too.
Yeah.
So cool.
I love Egypt. I really do. I love it. Never had a bad experience there. It's just an incredible place. It really is.
Definitely need to go.
Sorry, I took us so far off topic.
What's the hardest language to learn? I have no idea.
I can't imagine learning Chinese. I can't even begin.
I tried.
Did you?
Yeah, I took 2 years of it in college.
Is it just a question of rote memorization?
Yes, basically. Yeah. I mean, but it's rough. I mean, I think it's also decontextualized. Like, I had no one to speak.
Right.
And it's just sort of like, I couldn't imagine needing it really. So it's like purely in theory. It's just like, I gave up. It was like, I'm the kind of person, like, if I don't see, like, I'm the kind of person, like, if I work for someone, I'll do anything they want if they explain why. But if I don't understand what it's for, then I can't do it. And even if it's something that I'm my own boss, if I don't see the point, I don't do it. I just like give up. I crap out. I'm discouraged.
People are making so many intelligent comments here. Nadia Margaret is exactly right. The grammar in Arabic is easy. And the alphabet is hard. That's why it took us all those months. But if you can get the alphabet, you're going to speak Arabic. Where did I just see it? Marseilles. Do a lot of CIA officers have accents if they learn a language? Yes. So how do you deal with it if you're trying to recruit people? That's a key. That's something that I think most outsiders don't know, is that you're not going to go into the terrorist group and pretend to be Lebanese or Egyptian.
Right.
You're going to recruit a guy who's already in the terrorist group to report back to you. So your command of the language is just so you can deal with him.
You're not going to be exposed because there's all those things you just don't know, right? Like I remember being fascinated by, during World War II, I read about an operation where basically, I think it was British and American operatives were dropped off on the Normandy coast to basically scope things out in 1942. And they spoke French and they dressed right and everything was fine. And they went to cafes and you know what did them in? They were equipped with pre-World War II French francs. Now they were the same exact francs that were in circulation because they had no new money had been printed during the war, but they were new, they were crisp, and for 3 years, no one in France had seen a new franc, and suddenly these are like brand new, and that's how they got busted, and they all got killed. So, right.
Reed, how did CIA officers come up with an authentic backstory about their covers? You go to the Office of Central Cover and they give you the backstory, and then it's up to you to memorize it.
Now, is it like with Valerie Plame, she actually had a business, right? Is that necessary? Do you actually have a cover business?
Or she was a deep cover officer called a NOC, a non-official cover officer. That's a whole different world, a whole different life. That's why I never encountered Valerie at headquarters, because they don't even come into the building. They're so independent of everybody else. But the rest of us, like I remember going to Central Cover and they gave me a membership card in the National Trout Fishermen's Club. And I had, keys to an office in Indianapolis that did, I forget what, import, export, something or other. They give you a whole life backstory, and it's up to you to know it. And so when you get stopped and they say, who do you represent? You say, I represent, Art Vandelay, import, export. They want to know the number, and the number's got to ring somewhere, and somebody has to answer and say, Art Vandelay, import, export. May I help you? Right. And that's of course on the 6th floor of the CIA headquarters.
But then the cover can't really be like, oh, I work at JP Morgan Chase. And of course they call and you don't work there. No,
unless you're non-official cover like Valerie, in which case not only do you work there, you actually physically work there, and you do your 8 hours. And then after your 8 hours, then you go out and do your CIA 8 hours. That's a friggin' hard job. I mentioned too a couple of weeks ago, I think, about Amaryllis Fox Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s daughter-in-law. She was a deep cover officer, but her cover was she was an art consultant. So she would recommend art purchases to very, very wealthy people. Eric. Well, anyway, I'll come back to Eric in a sec. She would make recommendations to very wealthy people, and she would be the middle person in these art purchases. Eric asks, do you keep the double pay? No, you give the whole thing back. And there is a dedicated office at the Department of the Treasury that collects the money that you earned, which in some cases is 4, 5, 6 times what you're actually earning. And then they do your taxes for you every year. Oh, yeah. I had a boss whose cover was blown by Aldrich Ames. So they had to, the phrase they use is they had to bring him in from the cold. And his cover job had been as the manager of a mutual fund. And I'm talking 27 years ago. He's making $1 million a year 27 years ago. He didn't get to keep 1 cent of it. Not 1 cent.
Eric's other question, great question. Are you fired from the CIA if you're fired from your cover job?
No. They'll transfer you into another division. They'll probably bring you inside and then put you in an embassy somewhere.
That's very strange.
Yeah, it's hard. Keep it all straight in your mind.
I mean, is that the kind of thing that might inspire someone to, or make them more vulnerable to being recruited by a foreign agency?
Without a doubt.
They get used to they think about all, I worked in a bank and I couldn't help but think about the hundreds of millions of dollars I was dealing with every single day and think, I just took a little something for me. They wouldn't miss it. I think it's just, obviously here I am. I didn't do it.
Yeah. Ted, we used to joke all the time that every, I don't know, 6 months or so, you get an email from the director of the CIA. It's to everybody in the CIA. And it says, we have just arrested one of our officers. He's being prosecuted for misuse of his CIA credit card. And let this be a lesson to everybody that you do not try to steal money from the government, the people of the United States, blah, 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 blah. And we always used to say, why in the world would you steal $50 from the CIA?
Right.
Now, does that make any kind of sense at all? I used to say, if I'm going to steal from the CIA, I'm going to steal like millions.
Right.
So fast forward to March of 2002, a colleague and I are in a van. We've requisitioned from the motor pool. We have 2 duffel bags with $1 million in cash in each one. And I said to him, that thing we always say?
You can't help but think about it. Yeah, no, I remember one time I had this loan. It was a revolving line of credit, which means that basically it only came up every 30 days. No one checked the balance for 30 days. 30 days. $375 million. And the way that banking worked, and still does actually, is that New York is the correspondent city for the United States. So if a bank is like headquartered in let's say St. Louis, okay, so and you want to wire money out of the country, it has to go through New York or LA.
Yes, it has to.
But if it's in New York, it doesn't have to go through anything. It's already in New York. So if you wanted to wire that money anywhere in the world to a country that doesn't have an extradition treaty with the United States, let's say, you could. And so I remember just thinking, gaming it all out. It was like me and an operations clerk and my boss. I could get my boss to sign. My boss would sign anything that I gave him because he loved me. So just one operations clerk, a $35,000 a year operations clerk, and me, $375 million, and it would be gone for 29 days before they ever knew. And it haunted me. Every day I went to work, I thought about it. And I was like, I could have done it. I knew how to do it. And I was just like, but that's just no way to live. It's not how I wanted to live. I didn't want to be like that. Who was that guy who went to Robert Vesco, who went to Cuba?
Yeah, he ran to the Caribbean.
Yeah, he went to Cuba, right?
Cuba, like, that's right. He went to Cuba.
Like, I don't want to be, Cuba's great, but I don't want to live like that with a target on my back.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do it either. I couldn't do it. People have so many good questions. Paris.
It's Robbie behind me, Jay.
Paris is asking if the CIA hires people with more unusual backgrounds. Absolutely, yes. I've told this quick story before. On my very first day,
me. They turned me down. Yeah.
I was with there were people sitting on either side of me on my very first day, and one was a cartoonist, and they trained him to be a master forger. And
I could have done that.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure that you could have. And the other was a woman.
Forgery business.
Oh, right. Yeah, you could do well
for excuse notes.
And the woman on the other side of me, her only training was at the Falls Church, Virginia beauty school, and she became a master wig maker for operations. So they'll take. Well, we had a whole cadre of in-house meteorologists and There were a lot of art people and mutual fund managers, and I mean, you name it. Pilots
art are important, and graphics are important.
Yeah,
that is a great question.
Yeah, wow. That was a good one.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about something a little lighter. JD Vance.
What an idiot.
So JD Vance, for people who may not have followed this story, he's from my neck of the woods. We both grew up a few miles away from each other in southwestern Ohio. He claims to be from Kentucky, but that's a lie.
Jeez.
And he was on vacation in my old stomping grounds. My mom and I used to go to Cedar Creek, which was a stone's throw from Kettering, where I grew up. And JD and his wife and kids decided to go to Cedar Creek, which is basically an inland lake. It's very flat. It's kind of like got one of those like all over the country, like the muddy like beach. It's kind of gross, actually.
Yeah. And we used to swim in our local river, Neshannock Creek. It was all gross and full of mud puppies and.
Yeah, it's gross. It's not as good as Cedar Creek's not as good as a lake. I mean, as a river, because at least a river has moving water.
Yeah,
Creek's like skanky and just sits like a flat. Anyway, the point is, he was not pleased with the water level because he was worried that it might bottom out because the water's been running low. So he arranged with the local authorities to release water from the dam, so that he basically could have his ideal vacation. Now, to me, this was shades of former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie during when all the beaches in the state of New Jersey were closed, and Chris Christie decided to take advantage of one of the closed beaches. He brought his family by him. It was just and they had the whole beach to themselves. Well, the whole state is sweltering. He gets it to himself. Anyway, this enterprising reporter, who's a friend of mine, heard about it, got a tip, and then with his editor's permission, got approval to rent a helicopter to fly over the beach with the telephoto lens, and got that famous photo of chubby Chris Christie with his big flabby thighs, hanging out on the beach with his wife and kids, and the cooler full of food, and looking like a big pig. And so now JD Vance has better optics than that. Well, there are no optics here, but it really reminded me of that, right? Like, so if you live in southwestern Ohio and the water level's too low and Cedar Creek's gross and skanky, sucks to be you. But if you're the vice president of the United States and the heir apparent to MAGA world, as Trump recently said, then no problem. We'll do that for you.
Absolutely scandalous. Absolutely scandalous. I want to say real quickly too, that a couple of Robbie just sent around an MSN report that a U.S. soldier, Taylor Adam Lee, age 22, has been arrested and charged with espionage for offering the Russians plans for the Abrams M1A2 tank in exchange for Russian citizenship. The idiot did it over the internet, and so he was quickly caught and is now in custody. And apparently there's an active shooter doing his thing on the campus of Emory University in Atlanta.
God. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment.
No, never a dull moment is right. And it's a Friday even. It's usually quiet.
No, not lately.
No.
So, well, you want to say anything about JD, or are we done with him?
Yeah, JD, see, this is the thing. This is the kind of stupid decision that dogs politicians, right? Suck it up, and maybe the bottom of your canoe is going to scrape on the rocks.
Right.
Tough luck. That's life. But now he's going to have to explain himself, just like Ted Stevens had to explain the bridge to nowhere or whatever it was. Or not Ted Stevens. It was, what's her face that wanted to be vice president?
Sarah Palin.
Sarah Palin. You do stupid things and they always come back to bite you. And I know this sounds silly and minor, but the knives are going to come out as soon as the election nears, and everybody in the Republican Party is going to want to be the next Donald Trump.
No question.
So, dumb move.
Yeah, I don't think JD has it in the bag by any means.
I don't either. And he's so young. He's so young. He could run for president, 35 years from now.
That's true. By the way, quick reminder for people who haven't done it yet, if you can follow us over on Rumble and watch us over on Rumble just go to rumble.com/c/DeProgram show, or just go to Rumble and then just search for DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. We would greatly appreciate it because we literally make like much more money over there. It's pennies on YouTube. On Rumble, it's dollars. It's really the difference between poverty and not poverty. So anyway, just a quick reminder there. We'll probably be adding some ads to the show fairly soon. In fact, all right. So yeah, I think that will haunt JD. It'll come out. It will be used against him for sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
Apple's about to update their iOS. Not normally something that's terribly exciting. However, they're going to do this is in the law of unintended consequences. This is a classic example, right? They want to make it so that you can.
Bad internet connection in northwestern Montana. Oh, well, then I'm going to take while Ted is frozen, I'm going to answer Force and Sebastian's question about, hypothetically, if a person has information that the CIA would want, how do you recommend getting it to them? The CIA has been very weird about stuff like this. So what they do is they only allow the public to deal with the Office of Public Affairs. So you can go online and there's contact information for the Office of Public Affairs. I would recommend, if the information is legitimately sensitive, I would recommend doing it as a letter, an old school letter. Write it out. Better yet, type it out. Put your name and contact information so they can follow up with you, and then just put it in the mail and send it to them. Much easier that way. I answered the question. Go right ahead, Ted.
Excellent. I don't really know what happened there, but whatever. Okay, so what were we talking about? Oh, so Trump's, so the
iOS.
iOS. So basically, so it's kind of like if you have Google Mail. They have a system that if you get like a spam email, that goes into sort of a sub email inbox in your Google Mail. So going forward, you know how we all get those spam texts from people we don't know, or those spam risk phone calls on your iPhone from people that you don't know who are usually spammers and scammers. You'll get like polling requests. I get them all the time by text message. So obviously people have been complaining about that. In a attempt to respond to that, Apple says, okay, so we're going to make it so that all of the only emails and texts that you actually see are the ones that are from people in your contacts. Now, I can see that being very problematic. I mean, I do want to get emails from people like listeners of the DeProgram show. I want editors to reach out and say, Ted, I'd like to hire you for $1 million a year. I don't want to not get that email.
That's right.
And so, but the point, I would like to just lose the spam people, but I don't think it's possible to do one or the other. Anyway, there's concern about among pollsters who are basically 99% reliant on cell phones for polling data about politics and everything else. And they say they're fucked if this happens. And they don't, we will no longer have reliable polling information, which I know some people might not care, but I think obviously if you care about democracy and politics, you do have to care. Polling does matter.
Ted, are you reading Rid's comments here? Just in, Trump's going to meet with Putin next Friday in Alaska.
Oh, at Sarah Palin's house.
Alaska.
She can see Putin's backyard from her house.
Yeah. Oh, the mosquitoes this time of the year. Oh my God, it's going to be bad.
That's true. Well, that's interesting.
That is very interesting. But didn't we say it was probably going to be in Asia? And I mean, that's about as close as you can get to Asia and still be in the United States.
So, yeah, I mean, well, I guess this is kind of like.
Thank you, Marble.
So this is the U.S. So this is kind of like, it's all about like, well, Trump's going to be able to say, I got Putin to come to me.
Yeah.
And Putin's going to be like, well, it is a former Russian colony. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. That's true. I'm looking at the Associated Press now to see what they're saying. No, they haven't. They haven't announced it yet.
Do we have a timeline on that?
Friday.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Right.
Trump says
next Friday.
Next Friday.
Okay. So, is Alaska nice this time of the year? I mean, it's summer. It's I haven't been to Alaska really, except to change planes. I have been to sort of Alaska-like places at this time of the year, like Labrador.
Oh man,
I was quite nice.
On the first day of summer, the longest day of the year, I was in Iceland. Oh my God. I mean, it was like noon, 24 hours.
Oh, there's that. Yeah.
It really disrupted my sleep. I can't handle that.
Yeah. You have to have blackout curtains for sure.
Yeah.
Like everyone's like a vampire. So, all right, we'll follow that. That's going to be super cool and interesting. And we'll see if that's Wall Street Journal report, it turns out to be accurate. So what do you think about this Apple iOS thing? Is this a bridge too far? I mean,
I think so. Yeah. I have my own Apple phone set so that the phone doesn't ring if the number calling me is not in my contacts. It just goes straight to voicemail. Yeah. Figuring if somebody really needs to get in touch with me and I don't know them, they can leave a voicemail and I'll call them right back.
Yeah, fair.
But like
I don't answer any phone number that's unfamiliar anyway.
No, I don't either. But like you, for example, I'll get my blood work results from the lab and the lab's not saved in my phone. And sometimes they'll just text you from a 4-digit number. I don't know how they do that, but am I not going to have access to things like that anymore in this new iOS?
I guess not. I don't know.
I don't
Maybe those are allowed. Yeah, I mean, all sorts of things, right? Like back when you got a COVID test, it would be one of those 4-digit codes.
That's right.
Or like FedEx, like your package is on its way, or any
exactly
number of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess, unless there's 5 more breaking news stories, the last one I wanted to ask you about is Donald Trump is offering a $50 million bounty for the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro.
Right.
This to me is a bad look for the United States. I thought it was a pretty bad look that what we did to Manuel Noriega, dragging him off, dragging a head of state into a Georgia prison and treating him like a common criminal.
That's right.
And I think this is even skankier in a way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Very unseemly.
No practical effect. No one's going to collect the $50 million. Plus, also, who would trust the U.S.? Didn't the U.S. welch on like someone who gave information about Osama bin Laden? I thought that they did. It was like, or it was someone like that. It might have been Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, but it was one of the big Al Qaeda figures.
KSM we paid, and Abu Zubaydah we paid. But you're right. There was a story about one of the big figures, and we didn't pay out a dime.
And it seemed like we should have paid.
Yeah. I don't remember who that was.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I'd have to look it up. But my point is, I'm not sure I would trust the U.S. to turn over. But anyway, I don't understand. For information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, he's the president. He lives in the presidential palace in Caracas. Yeah. You know where to find him.
Go get him if you want.
You don't need to spend 50 cents to find him, much less $50 million. I don't even understand what this is about. They're acting like he's on the lam and living in Tora Bora.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Do you understand this?
Like, wow, if we only knew where he was.
I know. I should call and get the $50 million. I'll give you his address.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Saddam Hussein, the informant for Saddam Hussein got nothing. I remember that. But there was something more recent than that.
Yeah.
Where we stiffed him.
Oh, yeah. Giuliani had a bounty, too.
Yeah, until he didn't.
True. Yeah. Now he's our dear, trusted friend for the time being.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Is that true?
The doctor, I'll tell you what.
Doesn't trust vaccinations because
that's absolutely true. And polio is surging in Pakistan since then. John Kerry and I were going to go to Pakistan together in 2009. And I said, if we go, we've got to get the doctor out. The doctor was a paid CIA asset. The CIA walked away from him, and the guy got life in prison for helping us find
He's
Osama
lucky
bin
not to
Laden.
have been killed.
Yeah. And Kerry didn't want any part of it. I wrote a long, detailed, classified memo about who this doctor was and exactly what he did, and we had to get him out. Kerry's like, no, we're not doing any of that. Yeah, real shame.
Well,
real shame.
So was it the doctor with the 25 million? Seems to me like
we should have we should have paid him at least, part of it.
And gotten him out, of course.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Jolani not only doesn't have a bounty anymore, just wait until the big White House dinner in his honor, because that's coming. That
will happen. Well, once you clean up and you wear a suit, he looks like a hipster barkeep in Bushwick, with that beard.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
So, all right, John, are we deprogrammed?
Yeah, Ted, I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I hope you have great success at Barnes & Noble there.
Thank you so much. For anybody who cares, I'm supposed to be at I don't know, I'm not sure I'm going to show up, but the Barnes & Noble in Kalispell, Montana, 1 p.m. tomorrow, Central, what is it, Mountain Time?
Mountain Time.
That's it, Mountain Oyster Time. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Please like, follow, and share the show. We'll be back next week, Monday. I'm not sure about Wednesday because I'll be traveling. We might have to push that one back to Thursday, but we're normally here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Please tell all your friends. Also, the following week, right, we're going to go to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 5 p.m. We're very excited about that. Hope you guys are too. And really have a great weekend and take care.
Thank you, everybody.